Welcome back to the Laugh Out Together show, aka the number one podcast in the world.
On today's episode, we have a special guest, Harper Richardson, who's just another junior from University High School. Hi, Harper.
Hello, guys.
So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about social media and its effects on the mental health. But before we get into that, I think we should talk about when we got social media. Harper, when did you get social media? And do you use it like all the time? Like, how does it affect your life?
I actually got social media around sixth grade. My mom wanted me to get it because she was sick of sending me pictures. So she said, just take them off my Instagram. So that's when I first got social media. And I think I'm pretty normal, like everyone else that had a bit too much control over my life.
What about you, Arjun?
Me, I'm pretty sure I got social media sometime in middle school. I don't remember the exact time, but it was around the time I felt like everyone was kind of getting it, hopping on to, 4chan and like other like Discord group chats to play some Call of Duty. But that's kind of when I really started to get into social media. And my parents didn't really care about it. They don't really know what it is. They just like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like interact with your friends. We don't really know. But I kind of started to do that, started getting into it, I would say around middle school.
Yeah. Well, I kind of had a late start because my parents were really against having social media. So I got social media the summer going into sophomore year. So like the quarantine period. And I feel like maybe it was because we were in quarantine, but it definitely like became a bigger part of my life. Like I was one of those people that would constantly be posting on my story and like I mean I still kind of am, but like I've changed, okay? It's different. But I think I when it comes to like the mental health part of it, like social media, and I feel like a lot of the times social media takes over our lives, and anything that takes over our lives somehow like connects to our mental health, whether it be good or bad. But before we go into all the bads and the cons of social media, I think it's good that if we talk about all the positives. What positives do you guys see to social media? Like, because there definitely is a lot, like Harper mentioned and Arjun mentioned.
I'll hop in here. So what I was thinking was about social media, some of the positives. I think during quarantine, especially in COVID, I think it brought greater connectivity between friends and social groups because we were isolated at home, but now we were able to, come together. For example, for me at least, I would, at 6:30 at night to like 12 a.m., we would just all hop on a group call and grind Minecraft for like 7, 8 hours. And that kind of
Minecraft?
brought me closer to my friends because I was able to see them like physically, but not
Physically.
be bridge the gap of eyes.
Yeah, so Arjun's Wi-Fi isn't the greatest. We're very sorry about that, and it definitely won't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like any other sort of thing, there are definitely positives and negatives. And I mean, personally with mental health, or I mean, with social media in general, um, I at least found as well during COVID that I could stay in touch with friends that either were, in other parts of the world or um, just couldn't see because of health reasons. And I mean, you can definitely get sucked in, but it is also nice to be able to keep up with like smaller things in each other's lives that you might not feel the need to like give them a phone call or give them a whole rundown the next time you see them, like, oh, I baked this bread. Here's a cool picture. And it's a nice way to stay in touch with your friends that way.
Yeah. Harper, you did move here from like North Carolina. And so when you did move here, did it also help like keep connectivity with your friends back at home, like when you're here?
Yeah. Because sadly enough, I feel like most of us become too busy to stay in touch with our friends all the time. Even if we want to, like in the beginning, I would text my friends and call them pretty much every day or at least every week. But now, school's ramped up, there's clubs, sports, other things. Social media is just a nice way, like, oh, I took this picture, posted it on my story, and then all of them can see it that way. And, we can swipe up and like give each other hard eyes or say something funny. So it is definitely helpful with that.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of do the same thing when I moved here, but I moved here a while ago. And so honestly, I've kind of like moved on from the whole like oh my God, I want to stay connected with everyone, because honestly, that doesn't happen. But from the people I'm still connected with, social media definitely helps there. But I also think that social media is a great platform that like people use to like spread awareness on topics, which could have its positives and negatives. But I feel like that's another pro to social media, and I feel like all of us use that. I wanted to like let Arjun in on this bit. Arjun, what other pros do you see, like other than the inclusivity of?
Social media has kind of redefined what like friendships look like. I think that what social media has allowed is allowed like connectivity on like a deeper level in a certain way. Although it's like kind of shallow, like it's weird, it's like weird, but like when you're on social media, you can like see people's lives. Like I can like, for example, some of my friends, post on their private stories. Or I get to see kind of the mundane aspects of their life. And I'm like almost like I get to see into their life and really build that empathy with them because I'm able to see their lives like unfiltered almost in some aspects. But I know a lot of people think it's like super shallow because of celebrity and figures kind of flexing and on the haters and that kind of stuff. But I do think like there's like a way to like connect with people on a deeper level by like seeing their life like through private stories or through messaging. And I think that like my parents' generation weren't able to build, I think, as big of like deeper bonds like in high school because like they would only see them at school or like talk to them on the phone. But like I can almost get
Uh, we don't talk about it. Arjun's Wi-Fi didn't break. You didn't see anything.
Okay. Well, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the Life Unfiltered and actually name my private story that, because I actually like that name. Anyway, I wanted to say that, like he said, that many times you see people's lives unfiltered on their private story, and you see like a lot of things that you wouldn't see otherwise because you can't be there in the moment, and you could hear stories about it, which leads me to believe that a thing that's been present throughout all centuries and all generations is gossip culture. Everyone gossips, and it's something that's been present. I mean, if any of you guys watched Bridgerton, like I don't know, have any of you guys watched Bridgerton?
I just started watching it.
Yeah, okay. Well, then you'll notice how much they show and utilize gossip culture to change everything. Like Lady Whistledown, she's the gossip person. um, anyway, so how do you guys think social media is added on to gossip culture? Because honestly, like Arjun was saying, if everyone's lives are on display, then it's much easier for that to be a thing. And like online communication, um, and even though gossip culture isn't necessarily good, I feel like it's been increased. And I know that Harper has things to say, so I'm going to let her start.
I definitely remember in 8th grade, we would have what they called restorative circles. If you know anything about restorative justice, it was nothing like that. But it was just like a circle where our teachers would talk to us about something they thought was pressing or like a hot topic. And in 8th grade, there was some, excuse me, some big gossip that went down. So in the restorative circles, the teachers would be like, how do you think social media is impacting you guys? Like, do you guys know how to communicate online? We shouldn't gossip. And it was all about, because there was like something spreading around Instagram on like people's stories, like Arjun was talking about, and it was just dumb. But I definitely think social media has worsened gossip in a lot of ways, because now you don't even need to confront people. You can just post something on your story, or like swipe up to someone's story or share something and be like, oh my gosh, this person looks horrible, or these people are dating, or something like that. So I definitely think it's a lot easier way to gossip, but you can also shut it down in a lot easier ways by just like leaving the app for a week if you want to. So,
Or blocking them.
yeah, that too.
Arjun, what do you think?
Yeah, so I do think that gossip culture has kind of accelerated because of messaging, meme rumors, and things like that, because technology's like ability to connect others. But I would say that from my experience, at least, it's weird. I don't see as much. I don't see that much gossip on social media. But I think that I see like rumors, like people talking about others like in private, you know, and that kind of like seeping into social media. Like I don't think rumors are started on social media. Like they're just a tool to spread like a rumor from school or other places.
So it's like the rumor mill,
Yeah.
essentially. Well, social media and technology might be advancing, but Arjun's Wi-Fi definitely isn't.
No.
But anyway, now we talked about the good, and I think we kind of led into the bad, but social media definitely has affected us. And I feel like not only affected us in a bad way, but I think we've just become so absorbed into it. Like it's not an obsession, but it's like low-key an obsession. Like, I feel like it's used as a distraction. Like many times when you feel awful or you're just like, you don't have anything to do, it's anything of the sort, you go on social media. Like, let's say you're just sitting at the doctor's office and you're waiting for your turn and you have nothing to do. What do? We go on our phone because we don't want to sit there awkwardly. I mean, I know from what we were writing in our Lang classes, we had to read Sherry Turkle and her book, and which was a whole section was about how we suck at having solidarity
She meant to say solitude.
and like just staying in solidarity. And I feel like that's true. Like we can't just sit there. Like we use social media as a safety blanket. We use it to see our happiness, and we look at other people's highlight reels and sometimes forget that it's a highlight reel, and we kind of ignore the fact that we have our own highlight reel, and we just like it's a whole mess. I feel like you guys see this too, because all of us have social media. All of us have been like,
Okay. I mean, definitely, I feel the same way. It's funny because if you guys ever like rearrange your apps or like get the new updates where you can put like big bubbles of photos or whatever, when I first did that, it was horrible because my fingers just like naturally knows where to click on my phone where the Instagram app is, because I just like instinctually go there so frequently that it's like sort of just automatic at this point when I open my phone that my finger just wants to press there. And I think that sort of symbolizes how much of an addiction it actually is, even if we don't realize it. Because whenever I have like a free moment, I just automatically want to open Instagram and scroll aimlessly because it doesn't use my brain and I don't have to think. And I know I read the same book that Turkle sort of talked about that as well, how we just don't want to sit alone with our thoughts. And I think that's definitely present with our generation, that we'd rather text 10 friends and see who replies, or watch YouTube video or open Instagram and like scroll through people's stories. So it's definitely present in my life too.
is it bad that I do that? The whole like when I feel sad, I like, or when you're you're having a shitty day and you, instead of like feeling my emotions, I go and I text or FaceTime a bunch of my friends. My friends actually make fun of me because they think I have a FaceTime like circle thing. Harper knows because she's on it.
You definitely do.
And it's like you finish FaceTime one person, you move on to the next. And yeah, I mean, I feel like Arjun's read the same book, so he knows the story.
Yeah. Let me just hop in here for a second. So what I think social media has done has like led people to speed run their relationships in a sense, right? Because we don't want to deal with a lot of like the big emotions that we're feeling. So instead we kind of speed run through Instagram, speed run through YouTube, because what that does, like instinctually, it kind of like superficially masks how we're feeling by like scrolling through people's lives, and we might be feeling kind of like some form of connectivity by looking through it or trying to feel like not alone, but like in the end we're just kind of scrolling through people's photos instead of like actually connecting with others on a deeper level or processing those emotions healthily. So what we've like, that's what I think, like that's why I do, like I don't use TikTok or anything, because TikTok is so addictive. I think the swiping feature of TikTok prevents true connection, but just kind of like creates an addiction almost. Like going, like a lot of my friends kind of just swipe through TikTok like whenever they're bored, and I think that like that addiction itself to like swiping and speed running and kind of moving fast through life without like actually sitting with yourself is like a big danger.
Well, my icon of a Lang teacher always has like these huge reactions to everything we tell her. And I remember there was this one guy in my class, and he was talking about how when he deleted, so he got obsessed with TikTok. His like screen time was a huge amount. Like it was like, I don't even remember, but it was insane. And so he deleted TikTok. But like every time he would go on his phone, he would always put his finger where the app is, like Harper was saying, like you just like you know where it is, but like there would be nothing there because he deleted it. And I remember my when we told like he told my teacher that like, oh yeah, it's like hovering. She had this whole like she like pretend to die, like like those dramatic things. And she was like she like pretend to stab herself and like just fall because she was just like, that's so bad for us, like these addictions, like just the fact that like we're addicted to our phones. And with that being said, like I personally believe that we should like change our social media habits, but for starters, I don't really know how to. I mean, I've been one to like delete different social media apps, come back and like do all that to try to help me, but I still don't know if we should change social media like habits and like how we would do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone acknowledges it's a problem in some sense, regardless if you're in our generation and you're facing it and you're like, yeah, this is bad, but I'm not going to change it. There's too much going on in my life. Or if you're actually an expert and like, yeah, guys, this is really bad. Like we do desperately need to change this. But I mean, personally, I think I try to do those screen time things just to make me more aware of it and like have reminders. But not all screen time is always bad. Like, I don't think it's the same thing to be FaceTiming your friend as scrolling through Instagram. Like, I think those are two pretty different things. Because at least with when you're connecting with somebody and you're not always looking at the phone, like you can be doing other things. But with Instagram, I definitely think it's a lot worse because you are constantly seeing other things and it is a highlight reel. So, I mean, one way I think people are trying to change it is like with those reminders, like, hey, you've already spent 30 minutes. And that sort of helped me at least moderate it.
Yeah, let
Like,
me hop in here for a second. I don't actually use any kind of screen time type of monitors because what I figured out was that although they were helpful, they didn't like actually do like it didn't change my habits. It just kind of like was a police to kind of my habits. So what I figured out was like I would block out amounts of time that I could like spend like in mentally and just try to like spend that amount of time on each of these apps like that I knew were like in moderated doses it's not bad, but like in a lot of time like on YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, that kind of thing, it can be toxic and can be dangerous. So like I would like I would try to like cut out like a 30-minute window to use each of these apps. And although it didn't work at the beginning because I would just like keep scrolling, like the more and more I thought about it, the more I could like moderate my behavior by like giving me like rewards, almost like operant conditioning to myself by, if I wasn't on Instagram, I would like, I don't know, buy something on Amazon. I don't know, but like I would try to like reframe my behavior like based on like a reward system in a sense. And I think that worked for me, but for a lot of people like those screen notifications do help because they like make you think about how much time you've actually spent on this app, because that's a big thing about like TikTok, for example. The scrolling in the short videos make time seem like it's not passing, but like in reality it's actually passing. Like time, a lot of time actually passes when you're on TikTok and on Snapchat, for example.
yeah, well, I feel like we should all learn from Arjun because I think he is one to like sleep early, rise early, like, and he has a great habits. But if I'm talking for myself, I cannot agree because honestly, I'm one of those people that think, oh, if I go on TikTok for 5 minutes, I'm not gonna do anything. 5 minutes somehow magically just turns into an hour and you don't even notice. But I was agreeing with Harper as to what she was saying about like going on FaceTime with your friends. You can learn a lot more about them. I mean, I know for myself, I learned so much about Harper's cat by being on FaceTime with her, which I wouldn't have found out if I was just knew her through Instagram. And I think that social media and the highlight reel, as you guys are mentioning, is definitely something that's like, it's something that affects us in ways that it shouldn't. And that's because we're ignorant of like all the other parts of social media. And I feel like sometimes taking a break from social media is like helpful, but I feel like even if you do take a break, you're still going to come back to it. And then when you do come back, it's the same things over and over again. So as you guys were saying that like we would have the screen time notifications, I have those, but my issue is I can just press one button and say ignore for an hour or ignore indefinitely, and then I'll go back on Instagram. And sometimes the notifications come up at the worst time. Like, let's say I'm having a great conversation with someone and all of a sudden it says screen time. Well, obviously I'm going to be like, ignore, because I'm trying to continue that conversation. So I don't know how much those help, but I feel like it's also self-regulation that maybe I don't have and you guys do. But I don't know, what other ways do you think we can like, or even if we have to keep social media, how do we like make it a beneficial part of our lives? Because there's a lot of benefits, as we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a problem that at least I don't actually have a solution to. And I think the problem is that no one really has a solution to it right now, because a lot of it is self-regulation. That it, even when people try to change it, or like, I think the media companies get a lot of blame for it, and they definitely deserve blame for other things, don't get me wrong. But I think a lot of it is just, we are a generation that was raised coming up with technology, and it came around at some of our most pivotal years, and now it is pretty much an addiction, at least for a lot of people. And I mean, I think with at least some mental health issues, there are a lot of other ways we can combat it, and then trying to like ingrain the positive uses that can be gained from social media or just technology in general, and then saying, hey, these are the bad things that maybe we try to teach the younger generations, or like try to teach ourselves about social media, that maybe if we actually become aware of some of these methods that they use to keep you addicted to it, like the scrolling or something else, that could help. But I think it is sort of a problem that doesn't really have a full solution yet.
I mean, it hasn't even been long enough for like actual studies to be taken on it, and anything like important or official to be made on it. So I think definitely too early to say anything, but I feel like there's so many things that people do for like likes, or like some people only care about social media. I feel like in us three, we're not that obsessed. Like, we're not so obsessed to the point where like that's the only thing we care about. But I feel like there's people that are. And I feel like, again, as Harper was saying, that's when like the self-regulation needs to show up. And I mean, do you guys have any friends that are like so into social media that sometimes you're kind of like, let's not?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll give you a personal anecdote right now. My friend, let's call him Alfredo, I know has a screen time, I think like about between like 10 and 15 hours a day. And that's mostly spent on Instagram and TikTok. Like it's even hurt, I think, some of his studies as well, because he spends so much time on those apps that I think it's like distracted him from like more important things. Like I was even talking to him about this. Like it's actually inhibited some of his grades. So it's not like it's like, and he has like it's like an addiction now. It's like a real addiction. It's like affecting certain aspects of his life. That's why it's so dangerous to be on social media, be on your phone the whole time, because it can turn real like very, very quickly.
But sometimes it's a nice break. Like, what I've noticed is that, okay, first semester, I didn't have lacrosse, my sport. I did not have as many extracurriculars. And I was kind of just like, the only thing that I had to do was like my studies and like my homework. And obviously, I didn't want to do that. So I would go on my phone. And my screen time used to be like, what, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, sometimes 9, 10 hours. Like it was high. But this semester, I've been much more busy and I've been much better at like self-regulating. And I literally had this 1 week where my screen time came up and it was 10 minutes, like for all the days, 10 minutes. And those 10 minutes was me like calling my mom to pick me up or like getting a homework answer from someone. So I feel like there's ways to self like regulate. I mean, that's my personal example, which I'm not sure how it fully connects to social media, but I know that I was on social media a lot less when I was busier. Um, and when I was on social media less, I used it only for the benefits. And like, I'm one to gossip. Like, I will be honest, I love gossip. I think everyone here knows that. But I feel like when social media was taken away from me, I saw less things about other people. I didn't see things about their lives. And there was a lot of things that like I didn't know. And I was better off that way because I like when I didn't know those things, I couldn't say anything about them. I couldn't like put my perspective there, which is a good thing. And that's something I definitely noticed. But have you guys had any changes like that in your life where all of a sudden everything was like better or worse? Either way.
I mean, at least when I'm sort of on vacation, I think that's like the only time that I really can fully quit myself from my phone. Because at least when I'm in my school cycle, like I rely on my phone a lot because I call people to focus, and I use social media in between like study breaks, which is not a good habit, but that's what I do. If I like say I'm going to study for an hour, then I'll give myself 5 or 10 minutes on my phone. And it doesn't always work, but that's sort of I get in the cycle that I'm used to. But when I'm on vacation or I'm camping or going to a different country, I find it a lot easier to stay off my phone because there's something more intriguing and fun that I want to do. And when I'm like that, I mean, my head hurts less. I feel like I get more accomplished because I'm not just spending time on my phone. And it's definitely a lot healthier because I can like pick up a book or go have a conversation about ancient Roman architecture with my mom, something like actually intriguing, something that I want to be doing. But I don't feel like I have the time to when I'm in my normal routine. So definitely, I think breaking your routine every now and then has a lot of benefits, and I wouldn't
Like
even know.
ancient Roman architecture.
Some conversation that's educational and fun that I would enjoy that I don't do when I have.
No, because same. I love ancient Roman architecture, and my mom went to Rome without me, so I'm still very salty about that.
L
because
plus
I wanted to
ratio.
go.
But yeah, I agree with that. Like I realized though on vacations and things like that, when my MUN group and I went to Nyman and Berkeley, we actually were on our phones a lot less because we were able to interact face to face in a different environment. And I think Harper's right on the money where you need to change your environment to change your behavior, because a lot of time when you're in the same environment or act the same way, you get into this rhythm and this kind of rhythmic pattern that's hard to break. But changing the environment is easier to change your behavior. So I absolutely agree that you need to do that. And like vacation time actually works though. It's like a known method because you're distracted by the city and the new environment. So that's why I think your attention is diverted to that. But for example, I went to Paris. I don't know,
Lucky.
a couple of summers ago, I think, with my family, and we had the best time because we didn't use our phones at all. We were just kind of in the moment, like learning about the city, going to cafes, going to Eiffel Tower, things like that.
Both
Yeah,
of you
and
are so lucky. I want to go to Paris.
I feel like that definitely works on a smaller scale too. Like when I have a big exam coming up, I find that I just need to get out of my room. So I'll study at the dining room table or I'll study outside because I'm not in the same space that I've been all year, right at this desk, where I have the same routine. Like I know when I push my chair back, I'm going to go on a break, or, I start to fall asleep at my desk. But when I physically change my space to a different room, I even get out of that cycle. I'm like, oh, I'm in nature now, or oh, I'm in the kitchen where my parents can see me and I can't be on my phone. And so I think even smaller things like that have at least worked for me. But it's even hard to do that because I'm comfortable in my room. But
Yeah, I like personally, I know that when I've been on vacations, it's like, first of all, Wi-Fi is expensive when you're not in your own country. So I feel like that's another reason. It's just like an external reason as to why we don't use our phones as much. But also, I agree with the whole like going outside. I feel like a lot of people, especially I've noticed recently, like a lot of my peers just go to the library to study. And as much as I used to be like, oh my God, why would you do that? Now I'm like, wait, that seems so smart. Um, I know that where I'm sitting right now, my desk, I don't sit here anymore, actually. Like I used to always sit here and I'd always come in my room and do my work. And now it like icks me to be here because I always study at my in the loft outside on this like table. And I'll soon have a huge banner of like all my teammates there. So it'll be like they're watching over me and I have to do my work. Um, so definitely I agree with like the change of space and just like to take a break from like social media. Like instead of taking a break with social media, we just take a break from social media. Someone please acknowledge my play of words. Come on, guys. That's so mean.
Yeah, okay, that was not bad. But I do agree though that I think going to like a UCI library is really valuable because when I had my final exams, I would just go to the UCI library because A, I didn't want to pay for Wi-Fi, and B, it's like a natural environment where you think you're going to study. And especially if you're studying with friends, I think that's a good way to kind of make yourself accountable because they keep you accountable and you are accountable for them. So that's a good way to study. And I think another thing to get you off your phone, when you listen to music, you're actually not on your phone as much because you're kind of stimulated, but like in a very passive way. So you can still do pretty solid work, but you're stimulated a little bit. So you won't go on your phone as much. So like that's what I do. I like to listen to music, like, chill, lo-fi, like The Weekend and stuff like that. Just kind of relax and listen to, some nice tunes while I'm doing my work.
I mean, I think another thing that Herb mentioned earlier, which kind of has to do with like the Spotify thing, if you FaceTime someone, then they're on your phone and you can't go on your phone because if you go on your phone, they'll be like, bless you. They'll be like, oh my God, why are you on your phone? Get off your phone. I think because if your camera's paused or something. So I think there's a lot of methods that you can use. As we said earlier, there's no actual like cure or fix or like actual way to stop being obsessed with social media, but there's ways that you can self-regulate. And one thing I wanted to say, from even though there's no like full-on proper studies that have been like taken on or completed on social media, they have shown links between social media and like, well, in general, bad mental health, whether it has to do with rise in anxiety or depression or things of these. These are big like topics. These are big names. However, they have been connected to social media. And I feel like, as we mentioned through things earlier, people looking at other people's highlight reels and feeling bad about themselves, a feeling of being not enough, or a lot of the times social media is just something that's like the obsession, the need to always be there. Those have been things to like link to bad mental health. And I know that Harper was saying earlier that there are deeper causes to this instead of social media itself. But I feel like from studies, it's shown that social media has been connected to this.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's definitely the narrative that the media pushes a lot of the time. I mean, I think most of us have seen it, and our teachers and our parents like to say that a lot, like your smartphone and your kid is now depressed, and it's obviously that that's the cause. But at least what I've heard recently, I had the opportunity to listen to this doctor talk, Dr. Schuler from UCI, and he talked a little bit about how it's actually mental or social media and our phones are more of a neutral factor in regards to mental health, sort of the same factor ratio as like eating potatoes. And while mental health, obviously, it has its extremes. Like, I think there's a lot of extreme examples where with social media, it can be really bad or it can be really good, if depending on how you're using it, which is what we've talked a lot about. But I think there's definitely this big push that it is social media's fault, when at least some studies have shown that it's more of a neutral factor, and it's a lot of other causes that teens face that can worsen things. But then again, it is how you use it. So maybe if you're on your phone 20 hours a day, constantly on social media, you're going to have worse mental health effects. But that's just one side of the story, I guess.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say that, well, definitely, okay, it is a neutral factor, I guess, and it based off how you use it, but there's still some things such as like looking at a lot of celebrities, looking at their lives, looking at your friends' lives, even at your school that do a little more than you do. Like maybe you're at home and they're out, and sometimes we get that feeling of FOMO. We get the feel that our life is not enough. And obviously, if you self-regulate, you're not on social media as much, or you know how to be on social media without thinking that it'll be better. But I feel like there's some people that don't. So I think that's why it's called a neutral factor, because it just depends on how you take it. But another thing I wanted to mention is that there's so many stereotypes around teenagers now because of how much we use social media. So I accept we use social media a lot, but there's so many stereotypes that have been formed, especially around girls, about, like, let's say we go out to dinner, and if you're out to dinner with your friends, you're going to want to take some pictures, but we get mimicked so much. There's so much like push down, like pushing us down for like just wanting to take pictures or like posting it, like, oh my god, you're gonna go take Instagram pictures. And it's like that stereotype, although it's like it's not wrong completely, but then again, I feel like it's kind of like not good to have that stereotype, because then like girls feel bad for like taking pictures when you go out, and then that's a whole negative. Like, okay, I wanted to ask Arjun, but like from your perspective, because well, the stereotype isn't around you, but like, do you see that? Like, why do you think that stereotype was made, and like how harmful do you think it is?
Really, to be honest, like I just think that a lot of our culture is dominated by, a few voices like Kardashian family, Haley Bieber, those types of people. And I think what happens with that is that we are like led to believe a certain narrative when it's like not at all true. Like social media allows people to connect, so that's why they want to take pictures of their food or take pictures with their friends. Like it's not about, flexing on people. And I think that how our culture is dominated by certain characters leads to kind of negative stereotypes that just aren't true. And I haven't seen that from my experience, at least. And I don't think a lot of people, want to act like a lot of people don't act like the stereotype you're talking about. I just think it's perpetuated by certain people. Like the most followed people are the Kardashian family. So that's why a lot of people think so people or girls may act in a certain way because they're looking at like the most famous or popular people on social media.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%, because I feel like there's, once again, if you're just like posting pictures of your food or with your friends, that has no inherent harm with it. And I mean, going off of Akshita's point, with, I think the main neutral factor that study was talking about was technology in general with mental health, because once again, your phone has a million different uses, not just social media. So I think there will be different things coming out from social media. Because one other point that I want to add, going off of things like the Kardashians and celebrities, is that there's definitely, it's definitely proven that one thing that is negatively impacted from social media is body image with females.
Yeah.
And I think that things like that, there is definitely that factor with social media, that things like that is a huge harm to especially young and developing women. But there are also great positives. So I think that self-regulation is really where it comes in, of how we're using social media. If you're just looking at your friend's life and having fun, then that's not really going to harm you the same way. So
Yeah. Well, the whole like body image thing, that's something I see prevalent like everywhere and throughout what I see. However, I did want to say that like the body image thing again, if you like know how to feel okay with yourself and like you have that self-regulation, it's easier and it's better. And well, I just wanted to say that I want to bring back that we did talk about a lot of cons and a lot of pros to social media. We talked about how it's a lot about the extreme usage of it in our lives now, but how we can self-regulate that to minimize it. But I mean, I do want to say that we literally spread this podcast. We get more likes, we get more attention for this podcast through social media. So I can't say that we're dissing on social media over here, because it's useful and it's something that we definitely need, especially in our day and age, because sure, it was bad that it became so prevalent in our lives and there's a lot of cons to it, but now that it has become prevalent in my lives, we better adjust to it. And so with that being said, we also accept the negatives to social media. And we wanted to transition into another part of our podcast where we're going to have a guest speaker come and join us for another conversation, a mental health professional. But for this part, we wanted to thank you, Harper, for joining us and having this conversation, giving us your wonderful opinion and points as another teenager from University High School that moved here from North Carolina. So
thank you so much for your help and all your insights. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
And please enjoy us for some behind the scenes clips to tune into our next section soon.
This happens
Every
time we
single time.
record, bro. Every
No
time. You guys
problem.
should have been here last season, man. Every time we try to do this, I just said, welcome to the That's so funny.
We are getting people to fill out a form. No one likes doing work, so make sure you're very persuasive. Like, beg. Like, and like
Goddamn.
No.
energetic,
She needs
nice.
to grovel. She needs to grovel to the audience. Like if you don't do this,
Using
my
fancy
parents are gonna banish
This is
me from the
entertainment for
house.
you guys.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Wait.
Well, yes.
No, because I didn't realize we had to unmute, so now I have to make it
Just
double
Alt-A.
screen.
Alt A. It's very
Alt?
fast.
Huh? That's a
Alt
thing.
A.
Okay, boomer.
Me.
Alright.
Welcome to the Laugh Out Together show by the goated LOT Foundation, aka the Law Foundation, a student-based nonprofit set to provide educational. Will provide mental health advice.
Some random teenager off the internet, but with a lot of help from
The sun is a deadly laser.
Alright, hey guys, this is the editor here. So we had some unforeseen circumstances come up. So part 2 of this episode will be coming out later this month. We're working as quickly as we can on it, and this is not going to be typical for a Lot Show episode. We do sincerely apologize for any inconvenience we may have caused you, but thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.